So, welcome to another episode of The Inquisitive Mind of Louis T. I am your host, Louis T. So, this is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be the spotlights, where we, instead of doing a deep dive on a subject, where we have like a panel and we just really talk about a subject, we're actually going to kind of do a deep dive and spotlight people and just deep dive on them. I am blessed to have as my first guest for the spotlight Elvis Thomas Cain. You might have heard me reference him on previous podcasts. He was one of the big inspirations for me doing Road to Recovery. If you're not familiar with Road to Recovery, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a link in the bio in the description. And we also did the last podcast was a follow-up to the Road to Recovery documentary. So, and from here on out, I'm just going to refer to him as Tommy. But, you know, Elvis Thomas
Yeah, all my
Cain.
friends call me Tommy. Yeah.
Definitely a friend. I've known him longer than most of the people watching this have probably been alive.
A long time.
Yeah.
A long time, man. Oh, man, a good 20 years more. More than 20 years we've known each other.
And I mean, I'm only 25. So.
Folks out there, I count him among the best of my friends, this guy.
Yeah.
You know, jive jeepster that he is. But anyway.
So, Tommy, give us a little backstory. Tell the people who you are.
All right. Well, since you know the foundation is recovery. I started shooting heroin. I remember, I'll never forget it. It was the summer of love, and the Jefferson Airplane and the Doors and everybody were #1 on the charts. Man, the Beatles were still happening, and I had absolutely, and it was all of us addicts suffer from flawed thinking, because I had absolutely no problem with sticking a needle in my arm at 16, 17. I think I was 16, might have been 17, and it just took off from there. I remember being in my first treatment center when I was like 1971, I want to say, because it was what they called a treatment center. It's not like it is today, because we're going back years, But anyway, throughout the years, I got on the methadone, which is a synthetic heroin. And for anyone who doesn't know, the methadone was created by the Nazis, actually, because they didn't have enough morphine to relieve the pain of their soldiers when they were in Poland and doing their thing across the earth, So they invented methadone. And another thing I need to tell you is that the Nazis also invented methamphetamine. They invented that too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that, that the Nazis gave us both of those wonder drugs, that would devastate not just America, but the world at large.
So, and this was in New York, right?
I'm from New York. I'm from Long Island, actually. So where I'm from looks just like Wilmington in New York. It's the suburbs of New York. And we would have to travel into Manhattan or the Bronx or one of the boroughs to buy the heroin, But I'm not going to get into any war stories, man. I was on the methadone for 18 years. I flew for 18 years. And eventually found
When you say you flew?
I mean, I flew. Between the methadone and the booze, I mean, my feet were very rarely on the ground, metaphor.
Yeah. So during this, was it still also the time you because you're also an artist?
Yeah.
Well, more so then than now, but an artist in heavy metal, right? Heavy metal 2000.
Yeah.
So was this intertwined and all that?
It was intertwined. Yeah, I used to do science fiction, fantasy cartoons. Yeah. Was a cartoon illustrator, and it was an act of God that I even got published. I would roll up to the office reeking of alcohol, But anyway, I want to get past that because what I eventually found is such a wonderful thing that it's the most wonderful thing that I can actually share. Eventually, I found myself living in the gutter, and and I had a moment of clarity, and I wound up in what all of you know as a treatment center. And I don't think that there's anybody among us who doesn't know what a treatment center is here in the 21st century. Um, and it was there that I found, spark of hope, and actually got clean in a 12-step program. And I've had that success and ongoing recovery and an active member, and I'll be celebrating 25 years in November. So, so it works, One of the things that I do want to share is this whole opioid crisis thing.
Yeah,
Is the government's only half addressing the problem. Um, any doctor, psychologist, or psychiatrist worth their metal will tell you that the only thing that works is treatment. That's the only thing. So, on that note, the insurance companies, villains that they are, need to be totally yanked out of the picture, and treatment needs to be free 100% across the board for everybody. I mean, everybody. I don't care if you're a young man or woman in the hood, or if you're Johnny Depp or George Clooney. It should be free 100% across the board. That would be the other half of dealing with the opioid crisis. I understand what they're doing with the doctors and all of that. That's understandable, but that's only half addressing the problem, because treatment is the only solution to what we got going on here.
yeah.
You
So,
know.
so did you get clean while you still were up in New York?
No, I actually got clean in North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, I got clean in North Carolina. Yeah, yeah, and started working. Well, Louis and I both were in nursing in New Hanover Regional Hospital together.
Yeah, you actually got me my job out there.
Yeah,
We were
yeah,
at Cape Fear Community.
yeah, yeah, and had a hell of a good time over there. With all those beautiful nurses. I had me a wonderful time over there. I really did. you know, but I'm retired and I'm a published writer. I write horror.
Yeah, so you switched from being an artist
To being a writer, I now paint with words.
yeah. So now,
Nowadays.
and you actually have a couple books now that's available on
On
Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
You
Actually,
know,
there's 5 books. There's 4 novels and a book of short stories. Um, I've written the world's very first Catholic horror series. It's called The Psalms of Light and Shadow, and some people call them the Ruby Grace novels, because there really is a Ruby Grace. Her name is Ruby Grace Fowler, and she's my little muse. And she was my inspiration for the series of stories. And I just finished the 5th and final book, which I hope to publish by November. So, so anyway, life has been pretty grand. It really has.
so how can you find these books?
Under Elvis Thomas Cain on Amazon.
Okay, so just like Amazon Prime, just go to the little
Yeah,
app,
yeah,
and then are they right now? So they're just digital.
yeah. They're just digital right now.
Or
Yeah.
do you have any plans of?
I sure do. I sure do. Especially once I'm done with the 5th and final book, which actually that's done. It's being proofed and should be going to my editor Audra in, I don't know, a week or so. So, and then once Audra's done with it, Audra Packett is her name. Once Audra's done with it, she gives it back to me, and then I got to format it, which means I got to go by page by page, line by line, word by word, and I even make corrections and changes while I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And then I actually publish it, so.
Yeah, one of the guests I'm going to have on here, also a writer that's just finishing his first. Noah was just telling me about that. So like you send it to get proofed, and they got a system that'll proof it. Like so, if you totally misspell something, they'll figure it out. But if you wanted it to be cat and you put cut, it won't catch that,
right,
because cut is a word.
Right.
So
right,
it's like,
right.
So he got it proofed, but he's like, nah, let me,
Right.
and went back and really made sure it's
Right,
right. You
right.
don't
So
want
while I'm formatting it, I'm going line by line. I'm going sentence by sentence, punctuation, everything. I'm going through. So I actually do that process twice. Actually, after it's written, I go through it all before it goes to Audra, And then I actually, she gives it back to me. I put it online on Amazon and begin to actually format it. And when I'm formatting it, I got to go through it all again a second time, exactly as I did before, page for page. Where it's a lot of work, but I mean, I'm retired. I got the time, and I love doing it, man. I mean, I love writing. I love
Yeah.
being a storyteller.
So what was the process? So at what point did you make that switch? Because I know you were in nursing and planned on being a nurse, then went to retirement. So
Hmm.
when did you decide, and what was that like? That light that said, "This is what I want to do."
I was in my, I would think I was finishing my first year of nursing school, and I stopped and I thought, and I knew I wasn't getting any younger, and I had these books that I wanted to write, and me and my friend Kimberly Fowler were talking about it. She was pregnant at the time, and
With Ruby?
yeah, with Ruby,
Mhm.
and she said, "Yeah, Jamie and I are going to name her Ruby Grace." I was like, "What a perfect name that is!" I said, That's it right there." And then I have some friends who, just like in recovery, you have support networks, and it's the same thing with writers. Writers have support networks. Um, there's a lady, she's published, she's won some awards. Her name is Christine Mohami, and I think it's pronounced. She spearheads the Right to Publish, which is a writers group and whatnot. She's an inspiration. And I have Terry Meadowcroft, is a writer, and Beth Raley, and they're my inspirations. I talk to them all the time. I run ideas by them, and it's the same thing with recovery. It's like a support network. I mean, I think everybody in the 21st century is. I mean, they have support networks for absolutely everything: suicide, overeating, gambling, you name it. They've got support networks, and it's the same thing for the arts.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for
Yeah,
the arts.
most arts I know, like poetry and stuff. There's like it's just a
Yeah.
community of like-minded people.
Hmm. Hmm.
So from working with you, one of our bonds was always movies and just
Yeah.
just media as well. I don't know if you would acknowledge this, but
Mm.
at earlier in our life, I felt like I was a little ahead of you on some things,
Hmm.
which that
It
you
was you that turned me
you
on
know
to anime.
you know
Yeah.
anime and the
Yeah.
multi-disc. I don't know if it was a multi-disc DVD player.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember you saying, uh, you just completely dismissed that, and then later you've had like several of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all remember what a DVD player is, but this is how we used to consume our media
You're
back
right.
then.
Right. Right.
And then, and you only could do one at a time. So they came out with a 5-disc DVD changer,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
and like Tommy completely. Anyway, I digress. With our love for media, like when you're writing these books, do you have it in mind? Like, is it like is it a cinematic vision?
Well, so several people that have read some of them said that was their exact thing. They said, "Man, you write cinematically." He said, "I saw that like and there was even a publisher. He says, "Man, that was like a movie trailer." He says, "How can I get more of that?" But it was one of the publishers that wanted you to pay them to publish it.
Okay.
So I didn't go with that naturally. But yeah, I pretty much write cinematically. Yeah, yeah.
Have you thought or tried to auction off or even write a script or try to have any?
I do have, I've got, I don't know, I might try and see if I can get Ruby Grace on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon, see if I can get them interested. I just did some research in that, and there's a whole process to that. You got to actually write an actual part of a script. I mean, the book is there, and I would actually tell them, yeah, well, the books are here. You can read them. But they want more than that. They want you to
Yeah, unless
actually,
somebody else,
yeah,
unless a director or someone said they read it and they
right,
want to
right.
adapt it.
Unless I have a literary agent, then the literary agent goes to them and say, you know what, here's something you might be interested in. you know. So,
Okay.
but anyway, we'll see what happens.
So like how attached are you to this? So if someone, so one, before we even get into that, give us, if we can, a little bit more about the Ruby Grace. Like, you
Okay,
know,
yeah, 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 yeah. The series is called The Psalms of Light and Shadow, and it's the world's first Catholic horror series. And it starts out with the birth of a girl who was prophesied by the ancients that would come to herald the return of the king, which is the Christ, of course. And the villainess of the book is actually the one true Antichrist, and it's a woman because no one ever thought that the Antichrist would be a woman. So Ruby Grace is pitted against this character. The first book is Circus Maximus. Hoodoo the Voodoo is the second one. Room Full of Mirrors is the third. Epistles of the Damned is the fourth. And I just finished the Vatican Apocrypha, which is the fifth and final book. And for anyone who doesn't know, the Apocrypha is supposedly a series of books that the Vatican keeps hidden that they don't want the public at large to read, i.e., the Gospels of Mary Magdalene is supposedly in the Apocrypha, so. And this is all fantasy, mind you. This has nothing to do with reality. It's all fantasy. It's a supernatural thriller / adventure story with voodoo and sorcery and some action scenes and something that I call the Psychic Intelligence Agency, which I put over on Racine Drive. That's another thing. Most of the stories take place right here in Wilmington, North Carolina. So you Wilmingtonians would probably have a treat reading. So, yeah.
Okay. And so, what's next?
Let's say I just started a new novella, and it's going to be a trilogy of novellas, and they take place in Leland, of all places.
So, what's a novella?
A novella is a short novel. It's somewhere between a long short story and a short novel. It's between that.
Okay.
Clive Barker's Cabal was a novella, and I think that became the movie Nightbreed.
Oh, okay.
It became the movie Nightbreed. So anyway.
So tie it back to the beginning. So if when someone's ready to make the tie back, because like I said, you were a big inspiration for me doing the road to recovery. I didn't want to kind of stop you while you were staying, but I never understood, when we worked together. For people that don't know, I have a club background. I used to do a lot of events, and you not coming, us being as close as we were, and you talk, and you talked, you're not shy about talking about recovery, but to me, I didn't understand what that meant. So it wasn't until, I guess, more of this opioid epidemic, and more people started talking about it, and I started putting a little more lines to dots.
Right, putting it together.
That
clubs really isn't the perfect place for an addict to be.
And if you watch Road to Recovery, everybody kind of deal with their recovery
differently. Yeah.
So some people
will go and they're they're fine.
And I think this made it to the final cut, but one of the analogies is if you go to the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. It's probably better to not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now and then I always another thing I
like the monkey and the bananas analogy. Like the monkey selling bananas. If a monkey sells bananas, sooner or later
he's going to eat one.
He's going to hit one, right?
Yeah. So, and I never, and then I was like, because me as someone that doesn't have a substance abuse issue,
right.
It was totally foreign. I'm like, why can't and you met me when I was young, so I just kind of started drinking and things like that. Didn't understand, like, why can't you have a drink? Because like you said, you've been clean 25 years.
Going on, just about.
It seems longer. Should be longer.
No.
So
24 plus years.
So I never understood that. Well, I mean, obviously you're clean now. You're like, so it's just like, and that was one of the big motivations for me to do Road to Recovery, because if I don't understand, there's people that just don't really understand what an addict, or how do you even the reference, like how do you, like, what is addict? Is that a fair term, or is that the meaning?
Not now, not in the 21st century. It
Right.
isn't, you know.
Yeah.
Just watch an episode of Live PD. You'll
Yeah.
see. You'll see. Most people are. I mean, I don't think that there's anybody walking around who isn't aware of the problem that we have today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody, man. I mean, that
But
it has become so prevalent that, man, it doesn't matter if you're living in the jungles of the Amazon in South America, you're gonna know about it, because it's there too.
I don't mean it like that. But people, especially on the outside looking in, if
Hmm.
you call someone an addict, you're looked at it a certain way versus someone who might actually need help.
Hmm.
Like especially when you get to that. It's kind of hard getting to that point to someone who's an addict that doesn't want help to someone that's ready to get help, and how someone might view them. Because someone ready to get help, you might be ready to help, but usually the people that's trying to get them help,
Hmm.
they've been trying to get them help,
Right.
but if someone ain't ready for that help, they're not ready.
They're not ready,
You
and they're
can't.
not gonna get it.
Yeah, so it's
They're not gonna get
that's
it.
such that small window is
Hmm.
such a crucial point,
Right. Right. Right.
and
And I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a show on television that sends out the wrong message, man, because you cannot bully somebody into recovery.
yeah,
I don't care how many interventions you do. If they're not ready, you cannot. They might say, "Yeah, I'll go. Okay, yeah, I'll go."
yeah,
Yeah, but if
yeah,
they ain't ready,
yeah. There got to be
you
something in
can't.
them.
There ain't no way you can bully somebody into recovery. It just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way.
No.
Yeah.
So so I definitely thank you for coming. Like I wanted you to be part of the road to recovery, but you was like, nah,
Yeah.
that's not how you wanted to come out. But if it was
Hmm.
just something more like this kind of setting, you said you would be down. So I'm
Hmm.
glad you could be one of my first guests. Is there any
Hmm.
last things you want to tell the audience? Any other thing you feel
Well,
like
just
you
you.
got?
You remember Kimberly, right? Ruby's mom, right? You
I think
worked
so.
with her.
Yeah, with the glasses.
Yeah.
I don't think her name was Fowler then, though.
Nah, Woods.
Yes.
Yeah.
And did her mom work there too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dad.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah.
I was thinking about. I was actually thinking Serenity, but now I'm
Yeah,
thinking
now
someone
you
else.
know.
But I
Yeah,
know
now
you
you're
know.
putting it
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So
And it's taken me 17 years to write this book. I just seen on Facebook that Ruby got her driver's license.
oh wow, it goes back this far.
It goes back that far. Yeah,
Yeah.
goes
So
back that far.
all right. So one more last time, tell them the books where they can find them.
Oh, on
Or
Amazon.
and do they have? Can they find you anywhere? Do they have social media where they can find you, or do you just want them to find your
Yeah,
work?
I'm on Facebook. I haven't done an actual website yet. I've been meaning to get around to that, but I mean,
You and me both.
yeah, I've been so hot on
Yeah.
writing, getting the books written, and now they're written. So, I can. I got a friend Louis going to help me with the website. So yeah,
Hey Louis, holla at
yeah,
me. I'm Louis.
yeah. I'll hook you up with Louis. He's good people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so it's not the Ruby. Can you look? So Elvis Thomas Cain on Amazon.
Hmm.
Look him up. 3 books, maybe 4 by the time this comes out. You never know. Probably
Five. Yeah,
5. There's
five. Yeah,
4 now.
there were
5.
4 novels up there. There's also a book of short stories up there too.
And is the short stories part of the same world?
No, yeah, pretty much part of the same world, even though those characters are never mentioned, but it takes place in that same world. And even the one in Leland, the story in Leland, takes place pretty much in an alternate reality type thing, But, I wanted to get away from Wilmington, and Leland's so built up nowadays that,
Mm,
you know, but anyway, story's practically writing itself, so I'm really pleased with it.
that's good.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I need a hard cover.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
I'm
You
gonna.
can get a hardcover on Amazon. You really can.
Oh, I
Yeah.
can.
Hmm.
Oh shit, I'm
Yeah.
doing that.
Sure can.
I'm doing that today.
Sure can. Yeah.
And so make sure you follow me on Instagram, iMoLT podcast on Instagram, Facebook, The Inquisitive Mind of Louis T. For inquiries, if you want us to do a spotlight on you or sponsor inquiries, you can email me at mindoflewiст@gmail.com. And again, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Have a good one.